It's normally this time of the year that we would be packing up and many marketers would be heading to the south of France for Cannes Lions 2020. Obviously, with the COVID-19 pandemic, that is off for this year, but the Lions live on, and Phil Thomas can tell me all about it. So, Phil, no physical presence in the south of France, but there is still plenty going on.
There is, and we obviously cancelled the festival quite a long time ago, or it feels like a long time ago. It's only a few months. But that gave us the opportunity to try and build something digital. And we thought very early on that we could never really replicate the actual festival itself. As you know, James, when you go to Cannes, it's a very special experience in numerous ways. But what we could do maybe is try and bring the community together in a moment, in a sense to give hope, to talk to people once again about creativity and the kind of things that creativity can do for the world, to address some of the issues and to try to help people to learn and to improve. So we launched Lions Live, and it's happening during the week of the festival, 22nd to the 26th. And we were very fortunate that we, having lost all of our revenues for the year, it sort of didn't matter. So we're just giving it all away completely free to everybody.
I was going to say, it is free for everybody. So why was that important?
Well, partly it was because of the, I say crisis, but actually, of course, there are kind of three crises going on at the moment. There's the health crisis and the economic crisis that may well come from that. And now, of course, the diversity crisis, you could call it, that's come to a head. So we just felt in that environment with no festival, what would be the best thing that we could do for the industry. And I think using the digital platform to bring people together and not have any barrier in the way, to make it completely free, was something we felt quite strongly about. And we were supported by our board and our parent company, and they allowed us to get on with that, which is wonderful.
So what is Lions Live all about? What are people going to be able to see over the coming days?
There's quite a lot. I mean, I can't really go through it all because there really is a lot. But to break it down, we have keynotes from lots of amazing speakers like Richard Curtis and Chelsea Clinton and people like that. We have got discussions with CMOs about how they see the future. We've got thought leadership. Mark Reed is speaking, and Lorraine Toohill from Google, David Droga, numerous other speakers from the industry. We are making the work available, which is a subscription to our all of our archive of work from the festival for the last 40, 50 years, and we're making that completely free. There'll be training sessions for people to join. So there's a huge amount going on, and it's going to be a really exciting week. It's been a devil of a job pulling it all together, but I think we've just about done it.
I was going to ask, Lions is all about creativity. Just how creative have you had to be to put on this event?
I think very creative, because we've had to pivot, as they say these days, from, we're a machine that really creates an event, and everybody involved in it knows how to do that. We've been doing it for 54 years. And suddenly we have to create a digital product. And there are so many things to learn about that and how it's different. But it's been a really exciting project. And I think actually that in a way it'll allow us to provide in the future much more of a kind of blended experience for people. So I see it in 2021 and beyond that we'll have the festival itself in Cannes, but we'll also have quite a sophisticated digital offering as well for people who can't make it to Cannes. So if there are any upsides to what's going on in the world at the moment, I think that kind of innovation could be one of them.
You do work with a lot of partners to put on the event. How important have those partnerships been in getting Lions Live sort of on air, for want of a better phrase?
Massively important. I mean, we're so grateful to all our media partners, but also our other customers, particularly the network agencies who've created some amazing content. Because one thing we didn't want to do was just have a kind of Zoom fest, as we call it, with people talking to each other a bit like we are now. But we've got the real privilege of being able to go to very creative people who have actually made content for us. So they've made short films for us, and they've interpreted our our briefs in a really creative way. So what we're going to do is it's going to be based in a studio in London. So we're going to try and make it as professional as it can be. And we're going to be chopping and changing from different formats. So there will be interviews and panels, but there'll also be short films and there'll be other kinds of content, basically to keep people interested, because you know what it's like. It's very different looking at a screen from being at an event.
It's more than just what happens over the coming days, though. There seems to be this feel that Lions Live will actually go beyond the normal 1 week in the sunshine.
Yeah, we were going to kind of finish it on the 26th, though. It's a bit like, here's your week. But what we found a couple of things. The first is that the partners that we've been talking to are really keen on helping us and building it out. And frankly, we've got too much content, so we're going to definitely continue it. And then we've got other partnerships with people like Google and Facebook and others who are helping us to really create this. And they're very keen that we continue it. And I think that's a really exciting opportunity for us to continue to communicate with our audience and with the industry really throughout the year.
The big draw, of course, is the actual Lions, whether it's a bronze, whether it's a Grand Prix. None of that this year.
None of that this year, although we are announcing our Global Creativity Report of the Decade, which does include the Network of the Decade, the Independent Agency of the Decade, the Agency of the Decade. So there'll be something to celebrate there. We're giving the Lion of St. Mark out to a wonderful woman called Mary Wells Lawrence, who's just an absolute legend. There will be a certain amount of celebration. But I do think, the big sadness here for a lot of people, not only us, of course, but for the industry generally, is 2020, although next year we will be judging the work from 2020, in 2020 itself, we haven't got those Lions to celebrate. And, that's just a sad thing.
You're not tempted to sort of bundle them together as here's the best of 2019, 2020, and then do it sort of all over again, so that next week is a real bumper prize fest?
Well, we are going to do that. So next, if anybody's entered into this year that was going to be judged this year, we are rolling it over. So next year there will be the 2 years for sure. But it just means that, there's that moment, isn't there, when Cannes is when the results are released and everybody can see the great work. And it's a real moment in time for our industry. And that's the one thing, unfortunately, we can't replicate because, we haven't had the judging and the work hasn't been there.
Speaking of creativity, it has been challenging these last 3 months to maintain creativity, flow of advertising, branded communications, and the like. What have you learned through this process about how the industry as a whole has adapted, not just the sort of festival side?
Well, when I talk to agency groups, they are saying that at the moment they feel a little bit constrained because it started off with all the brands saying to them, how can we deal with the COVID crisis? What should we say? How should we show up? How should we react to that? Which they felt in some ways limited their creativity. And of course, now there's the issue of Black Lives Matter. People are nervous about what they should say, how they should say it. They want to do the right thing. And although I think in some ways that's doubled down on creativity, in other ways, I think what I'm hearing from the agencies anyway is they would like to be a bit freer, and they're looking forward to that freedom in the future. But what we have seen, though, in previous recessions, I remember the global financial crisis, and we went through that at Cannes. When I look back to the festival before that, really compared to what it is now, the explosion of innovation and creativity after the global financial crisis, that was really incredible. We launched new things, new people came into the festival, the platforms arrived. And I just imagine that after this crisis, we may well see that happen again.
It may be too early to talk about next year. You've sort of touched on it already, but do you think this will happen in the sunshine next year?
I'm absolutely convinced it will. The world is opening up already, as we can see. There are events planned for September, October this year that so far haven't been cancelled. These are big global events. So I'm hopeful that by next year we will be back to normal, but there will be a festival taking place in the south of France. What the subjects will be and how the world will have changed by then, of course, nobody can tell.
Phil Thomas, best of luck for next week, and we shall see you next year.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks a lot.